Time for Michigan's newest sports talk show, Mitten Madness.
And here he goes. Defense win championship.
Michigan sports talk from here in Battle Creek. The latest stories, the biggest games, all across the Mitten State.
That's not something you play with.
Streaming live and on demand on the 95.3 WBCK app. Your host, Da'Jzon Hughes.
Good morning on this Saturday morning. It's Mitten Madness on 95.3 The Ticket, and I'm your host, Da'Jzon Hughes. We're getting ready to talk an entire hour's worth of what's happening inside of the state of Michigan in the sports realm, and there actually is plenty to dive into happening inside of the Mitten State this week. We'll start off in the MLB with our Detroit Tigers like we have of recent, and while it was fun to talk about them this week, maybe not so much, but we'll dive deeper into that in just a moment. Michigan State, there are updates for both on not only the gridiron, but the hardwood as well. So we'll touch in with those college institutions and what big is happening with Michigan and Michigan State as they prepare for the football season. The basketball season will be starting shortly after, and then we'll get into the NFL preseason, what is happening with the Detroit Lions and the rest of the NFC North as they all prepare for the ensuing NFL season that will start just after Labor Day. And then we'll get into our picks as always to end out the show. I hope you have had a fantastic week. It's been quite the week for me. Coming back for Philadelphia was a trip in its own. If I could tell you all the details, let me tell you, I don't have the time to do it right now, or I would. But man, it was a crazy trip. And then I've just been battling kind of like that jet lag and that tiredness of getting back into the normal grind of mode after taking some time away. But I'm here, I made it, and I'm excited for the weekend that is coming up as there is tons of good things going down. Obviously, lacrosse is there in a bye week before the playoffs start, so that isn't exciting for me, but the rest of it surely will be. But now that we have gotten through the obligatories, it's time for us to touch in with our Detroit Tigers. You know where we'll start when we get in Comerica Park. We'll start in the standings like always. The Tigers, unfortunately, are back at second from the bottom in the AL Central. Chicago White Sox still at the top, 66 and 61. Twins are 3.5 games back at 63 and 65. Guardians are 4.5 games back at 62 and 66. Then our Tigers, 5 games back at 61 and 66, and 55 and 74. 12 games back are the Kansas City Royals. When we bump over and look at the American League overall, the Tigers are just sixth from the bottom. The Orioles, Mariners, Royals, Angels, and Athletics are all behind them. The Athletics sitting at the bottom of the American League. They're 27.5 games behind the leaders, and they are 49 and 79. The leaders of the entire American League are the Tampa Bay Rays, who are 76 and 51. Yankees come in right behind them at 72 and 55, 4 games behind. 8 games behind the leaders are the Red Sox, 68 and 59. Then those White Sox, and right behind the White Sox, 5th place in the American League at 64 and 64. 500 on the board, 12.5 games back are the Houston Astros. When we look at the entire MLB overall, the Tigers are still in that middle pack as they are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. They're 11th from the bottom. The Orioles, Reds, Nationals, Mariners, Mets, Royals, Giants, Angels, Rockies, and Athletics are all behind the Tigers. Athletics are at the bottom of the entire MLB, 30 games behind the leaders. The leaders of the MLB are the Brewers, who are 79 and 49. Dodgers 2 games behind them at 77-51. Then those Rays 2.5 games back. The Braves are 4 games behind at 75 and 53. And those Chicago Cubs come in 5th in the entire MLB at 74 and 54, 5 games behind the Brewers. Now our Tigers are, needing some help. The bats have slipped a little bit again. Kevin McGonigal leading the batting average department with a .282, his on-base percentage of .384, and a slugging percentage of .424. Dylan Dingler still leads the team in home runs and RBIs. He's batting a .255. He's got 26 home runs and 82 RBIs on the year. Looking at the pitching categories, Kiter Montero, 3.30 ERA, leading in that department. He also leads in the win department with 9. He has 89 strikeouts. Technically still leading the Tigers with strikeouts is 116 with Tarek Skubal, who had 7 wins, 2.79 ERA on the season with the Tigers. Batting overall, 577 runs is 13th in the league. Batting average of .243 is 17th in the league. Their on-base percentage of .319 is 11th, and their slugging percentage of .406 is 11th as well. So not terrible, but not in the top 10s like they surely could get some help with. Earned run average of 3.57 is 4th in the league. Their quality starts of 48 is tied for 8th. Their whip of 1.21 is 5th. And their opponent batting average of .231 is 5th as well. So continuing to do very well in the pitching department, and is one of the reasons they have been able to stay competitive within the MLB. And these last couple of weeks, which has been rough on them. We do know that they came off the 2-1 win over the Guardians right into a 3-game series against the White Sox, which they really needed to win a game or two to make up some ground, and a sweep would have put them ahead of the White Sox in the AL Central. And honestly, things have kind of just been downhill since that Thursday night 3-0 win over the Guardians. Then you have the 9-5 loss Friday night to the White Sox, where Joe picked up the loss. And then you have the 4-3 loss on Saturday, where Sommers picks up the loss, and a 7-5 loss on Sunday, where Holton picks up the loss. That's a 3-game sweep for the White Sox, in which the Tigers did not win a single game, and that really kind of put a damper on the momentum that they had built and started to create for them to not only make a push for the wild card space, but to make a push to win the entire American League Central. And then that rolled right into a series against the Pittsburgh Pirates, which it looked like the Tigers might have been able to turn things around, as Valdez picked up a huge win, winning 8-5 to open up the series on Monday. And then the Tigers turned around and picked up 2 major losses, 4-1 on Tuesday. Montero responsible for that loss. And then 4-3 on Wednesday. Jansen picks up that loss. Tigers coming into their next series, a very pivotal series, on a 2-game losing streak, losing 5 of their last 6. So they really need some games to go into their favor. And I mean, honestly, this weekend is a great weekend for them to try and get back in the right mode. They're going against none other than the Kansas City Royals, the team that's at the bottom of the American League Central and is second from the bottom in the entire American League, and has severely struggled this year with having success. So I do think the Tigers need to go in and sweep the Kansas City Royals, most importantly because right after the Royals, they're taking on the Tampa Bay Rays. I don't know if you remember, the Tampa Bay Rays are checks notes first in the entire American League and third in the entire MLB. So this is not only a team that has good pitching, but a team that has phenomenal batting and is able to piece it all together and knows how to win games. That's going to give the Tigers a ton of trouble going into that early series in the next week, because then they follow that up with a 3-game series against the Los Angeles Dodgers, who are second in the NL and second in the entire MLB. That's going to be an uberly hard series for the Tigers. The only advantage they have in all of this is that they're not traveling for either one of those series. That series against the Tampa Bay Rays and the Los Angeles Dodgers are both going to be at Comerica Park. So somewhat of an advantage, but man, that is a tough stretch of games. This weekend, though, lots of upside for the Tigers. Kicking off last night, Friday night, 8:10 p.m., Melton versus Cameron. And then you have 7:15 p.m. later today, Anderson versus Wacha. And then tomorrow, 2:10 p.m., Valdez versus Lynch the fourth. A great opportunity for the Tigers to pick up 3 very key wins that they'll need before they have 6:40 pitches on Monday and Tuesday against the Tampa Bay Rays, and a 1:10 pitch on Wednesday. And then the weekend series next weekend against the Dodgers, 6:40 p.m. on Friday, where you'll have Anderson versus Yamamoto. And then 1:10 on Saturday, the big game everyone is going to be looking forward to, the game everyone wants tickets to, the game everyone's going to be watching and listening to, the one that everybody has their eyes on because they want to see how it's going to go. Tarek Skubal is making his return to Comerica Park for the first time as a pitcher for another team. He will take on Valdez in the Saturday game, 1:10 p.m. And then you have Montero versus Snell going down next Sunday, the 30th, 1:40 p.m. first pitch to wrap up that series. So the Dodgers series, obviously lots of headlines surrounding that series, and it's going to be a tough series. The Rays, a tough series with as good as they have played. I did not talk a ton about the Rays series because, well, that's coming up in our picks later on in the show. So I will be diving a lot deeper into what's going to happen with the Tigers and Rays series later on in the picks. But, I mean, the work is more than cut out for the Tigers at the moment, and it's going to be an uphill battle. Looking at the power rankings coming into this week, going through the top 10, the Brewers are at 1, Dodgers at 2, Braves at 3, Tampa Bay Rays at 4, Chicago Cubs at 5, Yankees at 6, Red Sox at 7, Phillies at 8, Padres at 9, and those dreaded Chicago White Sox moving up one spot from their previous ranking of 11 to 10. The White Sox rotation has been thin since the All-Star break, and though manager Will Venable and his staff have done a good job of leveraging their hot relievers to stay afloat, Chicago runs the risk of burning out the bullpen if some of its starters don't get going. The White Sox rank 25th in rotation ERA with a 4.68 since the All-Star break and have gotten only 8 quality starts in 31 outings. 6 of those 7 have come from Sean Burke and Anthony Kay, while deadline pickup Luis Castillo has 1 quality start over his first 3 White Sox outings. Castillo is obviously a key to the rotation getting deeper behind Burke and Kay, but Chicago also badly needs early season phenom Davis Martin to find himself. After posting a 3.41 ERA over 18 starts before the break, Martin has a ghastly 8.48 ERA over his first 7 second half starts. Now, surprisingly, I thought the Tigers might be lower than this. They're at 14. Shortly after the trade deadline and departure of Tarek Skubal and Casey Mize, Detroit manager A.J. Hinch called a meeting with his players and told them in so many words, we're still in the playoff hunt, and we know this because if we weren't, there'd be more guys in here who would have been traded. Maybe the Tigers surge was helped along by Hinch's motivational talk, or maybe the AL is just mediocre. Either way, they're still in the fight. The big question is whether they'll have enough starting pitching to carry them through in the fight for the third and final AL wildcard spot. And, well, we'll find out as the time comes. That's all we have for the Tigers at the moment. When we come back from the break, we'll be talking Michigan and Michigan State here on Mitten Madness on 95.3 The Ticket.
If there's one thing you can count on, it's 24/7 protection when you bundle home and auto insurance with Progressive. And if there's 2 things you can count on, it's your smoke detector battery dying at 3 a.m. Not 3 p.m. on a Saturday when you have nothing going on, but in the middle of the night when you're fast asleep.
Oh, come on!
Get 24/7 protection when you bundle home and auto with Progressive. Just one more thing you can count on. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Mike Rowe on the Skills Gap and how a student organization known as Skills USA is trying to fill it.
So the thing about Skills USA that's so cool, and the reason that my foundation has supported it for years, is that it's deliberately and intentionally focused on celebrating a skill. 3 million jobs right now exist in the trades and transportation and commerce. The skills gap is real. Training kids and getting them excited to do the jobs that exist ought to be job one. Skills USA does that in a big way. It's about excellence and competition and being good at what you do, and eventually through all of that, learning who you are. Skills USA is working.
Learn more at microworks.com and skillsusa.org.
Welcome back back into Mitten Madness here on 95.3 The Ticket. I'm your host, Da'Jzon Hughes, and we are getting ready to step on the college campuses and touch in with Michigan and Michigan State as they prepare for the new school year to come around, which means the football season is almost upon us and the basketball season will be starting soon. And something that involves both of those and beyond in all of their sports is that they are hiring a new AD. Michigan State is finalizing a deal to hire Western Michigan Athletic Director Dan Bartholomew as the school's next athletic director. Bartholomew comes to Michigan State after a strong run at Western Michigan, which won a national title in men's hockey during his tenure, and the school is also coming off a MAC title in football. Bartholomew will replace Jay Batt, who left Michigan State after nearly a year to take the athletic director job at Kentucky. He'd been a front runner for much of the process, which included interim athletic director John Palumbo as an internal candidate. Bartholomew has been the athletic director at Western Michigan University since January of 2022, arriving there after 5 years as the executive deputy athletic director at Oregon State. He fits the hallmarks of the modern athletic director, where fundraising looms as an outsized priority. At Western Michigan in 25-26, they raised a record $21.8 million. His accomplishments there include the men's hockey national title in 2025, the school's first. He also hired Lance Taylor as the school's football coach, which culminated with a MAC title in 25, and Western Michigan looms as the favorite to repeat in 2026. Bartholomew, 46, enters Michigan State as an interesting time, as new football coach Pat Fitzgerald is set to begin his first season there. It also comes with coach Tom Izzo, who is 71, entering his 31st season at the helm. The athletic director opening at Michigan State came about because of administrative uncertainty, as President Kevin Guskiewicz has announced as the next president of Clemson in May and then reversed on his decision in July. In between, Batt left for Kentucky, and Michigan State's board earned criticism for being difficult. In the president's letter to the Falcony announcing his departure, he blasted the board's discouraging behavior that included the actions of some to abuse their access to privileged and confidential information to misrepresent facts. The president returned to Michigan State and led the process to hire Bartholomew. So it looks like they're trying to start a new era. They are going to be able to do so after finding a replacement for Jay Batt. It comes by courtesy of someone that many people here in the Kalamazoo area have gotten to know in Dan Bartholomew. He's done great work here with the Western Michigan Broncos, as they outlined in that article, and we'll find out if he's going to be able to do the same with the Michigan State Spartans once he really gets to work over there. But Pat Fitzgerald era will start with the perfect test for Michigan State. They enter the 2026 season with plenty to prove, and its week one matchup against Toledo might be exactly what the Spartans need. The Pat Fitzgerald era officially begins Friday, September 4th, when Michigan State welcomes Toledo to Spartan Stadium for an 8 p.m. kickoff. After finishing just 4-8 last season, Michigan State needs an opener that gives its new look roster a chance to build confidence while still providing a legitimate test. Toledo checks both boxes. A real test without jumping straight into Big Ten play. There is always value in opening against an opponent you should beat, but Michigan State probably wouldn't gain much from beating an overmatched FCS program by 40 points. Toledo is different. The Rockets went 8-5 last season and have been one of the MAC's most consistent programs, going without a losing season since 2009. That means Michigan State can't simply show up and expect to win. Toledo is good enough to expose mistakes, make the Spartans play 4 quarters, and give Fitzgerald an early idea of where his team actually stands. At the same time, Michigan State will still enter the game as the Big Ten team playing at home. It's the type of matchup where the Spartans can be challenged without immediately being thrown into the deep end of the conference play. Both programs are starting new eras. There's another interesting part of this matchup. Both sidelines will feature new head coaches. Fitzgerald is beginning his first season at Michigan State, while Mike Jacobs takes over at Toledo following Jason Candle's departure for UConn. Jacobs comes to Toledo after a successful run at Mercer and inherits a program that has become accustomed to winning. That makes week one a battle between two teams trying to establish new identities. For Michigan State, that could be especially valuable. The Spartans have new pieces throughout the roster and a new offensive system under Nick Sheridan. Instead of facing an established Power 4 program immediately, MSU gets a chance to work through some of the normal week one issues against a quality opponent at home. This isn't supposed to be a cupcake. That's exactly why it works. Michigan State needs to find out how its offensive line handles pressure, whether the offense can consistently put drives together, and how quickly the defense can settle into the season. Toledo should be capable of testing those areas. There is also pressure that comes with this matchup. Michigan State is expected to win, but Toledo has enough credibility that the Spartans can't afford to play sloppy football. That's a good situation for a team trying to change the direction of its program. Michigan State's 2025 season didn't provide much momentum heading into the offseason. A 4-8 record, a 1-8 mark in Big Ten play ultimately led to a coaching change. Now the Spartans need something positive to build around. A convincing win over Toledo would mean more than simply putting 1-0 next to Michigan State's name. It would give Fitzgerald his first victory as MSU's head coach, give the roster confidence in the new system, and give Spartan Stadium something to get excited about again. And because Toledo isn't a pushover, a strong performance could carry some weight. There are easier teams Michigan State could have scheduled. There are also much harder teams. That's what makes Toledo such a good week one opponent. The Rockets are respected enough to challenge Michigan State, but the Spartans would still have the talent advantage and the benefit of playing at home. Toledo can punish mistakes without representing the same week-to-week challenge Michigan State will eventually see in Big Ten play. For a program entering a new era and trying to climb back toward relevance, that's almost exactly what you want from an opener. Michigan State doesn't need week one to tell everyone that the program is officially back. It just needs to show that things are moving in the right direction. Against Toledo, the Spartans will get their first chance to prove it. So I really, really like kind of the mindset that they have around that. But we'll talk more about that when that does come around. Michigan State transfer, though, as we get on over to the hardwood, Jackson Kohler. He may be coming back to college basketball. The BYU Cougars basketball team landed a big man for the upcoming season. That's the thing. If he comes back, it won't be in green and white. Kevin Young and his staff have been searching to fill the biggest need in the front court since the end of last season. Former Michigan State forward Jackson Kohler announced he'll be transferring to BYU. The 6'10", 245-pounder from American Fork. Utah had a breakout season for the Spartans last year. BYU was on Kohler's short list as the fifth-year transfer, has been navigating through the process. He announced he was hitting the transfer portal earlier this week. He didn't waste much time making his decision on coming home. This is a huge win for Young and his staff, who get one of the best players available out of the fifth-year eligibility group. Kohler was recently spotted playing pickup ball with some current BYU players. He's also a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Being back close to home was a power move for Kohler during his final collegiate year. The NCAA is looking to crack down on former NBA players returning to college, even if they're part of the 2022 recruiting class. What makes the argument tough at this point is trying to find a way around court rulings. Both the NBA and NFL have experienced players suiting up for games and heading back to college. BYU beat out Louisville and Kentucky for his services. Kohler brings a lot of potential to Young's offensive setup. The Cougars coach told Rothstein recently that this year's vision with Rob Wright III as a floor general will be fast-paced. Kohler was one of the most sought-after hybrid centers and will be a great fit. He brings athleticism and physicality. Kohler spent all 4 of his previous seasons under Tom Izzo at Michigan State. He averaged a career-high 12.5 points and 8.9 rebounds per game during the 25-26 season. After going undrafted in the 26 NBA draft, the former Spartans forward signed an Exhibit 10 deal with the Utah Jazz and played for the NBA Summer League squad. The news of Kohler joining BYU comes after former Cougars center Kiba Kita announced plans to enter the transfer portal. However, Kita has not completely closed the door on a potential return to Provo. Kohler fills one of the 2 open roster spots. If Kita were to fill the other spot, BYU's front court would be one of the best in the nation. Turning things over to Ann Arbor. In-stadium advertisement is coming to the Big House this fall. Michigan is landing deals with 3 major brands to open 2026. In conjunction with Learfield, their multimedia rights arm, the university has formed the Leaders in Best Champion Partner programs and has inked sponsorship agreements with Coca-Cola, Meijer, and Google Gemini. The school says the 3 companies were selected in alignment with Michigan's values and commitment to delivering a fan-first experience and plans for clean, tailored, and thoughtfully designed activations inside of Michigan Stadium. The ads joined Allstate, who appeared on the Nets Behind the Field Goals post as the first sponsors inside the historic stadium at the corner of South Main Street and East Stadium Boulevard. Length and financial terms of the deal were not disclosed, but the school officials say all signage will be a uniform maize, blue, or white. So they're not looking to change anything. They're just trying to add a little bit of money. They said Michigan was exploring advertising patches on game jerseys, on the field and court, and on digital scoreboards as well. Also happening with the football program, Utah is suing Freddie Whittingham over their alleged breach of contract. The University of Utah is suing former assistant Freddie Whittingham for breach of contract after he left the Utes to join the coaching staff of his brother, Kyle Whittingham, at Michigan. The university attorneys filed a lawsuit on August 3rd in Utah's 3rd District Court, alleging that Freddie Whittingham abandoned his roles at Utah's tight end coach, despite being under contract through January 2027 to take the tight end's job at Michigan. According to the lawsuit, Utah is seeking more than $300,000 from Whittingham for breach of contract and at least $1 million for general and special damages. The lawsuit claims that Whittingham failed to get written consent from Utah to engage with Michigan, failed to provide Utah with written notice of resignation, and failed to pay litigated damages liquidated damages specified under the terms of the contract, and failed to devote full-time attention and energy to the duties of being a Utah assistant, adding that Whittingham actively recruited Utah players and recruits to Michigan while still employed by Utah. Officials from Utah and Michigan didn't immediately respond for comment. Whittingham had a base annual salary of $525,000 from Utah. Kyle Whittingham went 177-88 in 21 seasons at Utah as the winningest coach in program history. In December, he announced he was stepping down as head coach before joining Michigan. Freddie Whittingham had worked under his brother at Utah since 2012, first as a director of player personnel, then a recruiting coordinator and tight ends coach. Projecting every Big Ten's team's floor and ceiling for the basketball. Ceiling for Michigan State, 35 wins, a Big Ten finish of first, and a possible national championship. Their floor, 25 wins, fifth in the Big Ten, and 16th in the postseason. Michigan, on the other hand, their ceiling, 34 wins, first in the Big Ten, national championship. Their floor, 22 wins, seventh in the Big Ten, NCAA tournament round of 64 finish. Obviously, the coaching job at Michigan wasn't open long after Bessie May decided to leave for the NBA. Athletic director Warren Manuel quickly announced associate head coach Mike Boyden would take over, stabilizing the program. Elliot Cadeau, the 2026 Final Four's most outstanding player, standout Trey McKinney, and incoming five-star recruit Brandon McCoy all announced they would stay. That means the race for the Big Ten title and perhaps a national title, too, could go through Ann Arbor. Then again, last season's dominant squad was led by one of the game's top coaches and three eventual NBA lottery picks, none of whom are with the program. For Michigan State, Tom Izzo is a roster built to win a national championship. Jeremy Fears Jr., a second-team AP All-American last season, is the early betting favorite to be the National Player of the Year. Cohen Carr and Kurt Tang are both experienced returning talent and ready for breakout seasons. They have help from incoming prospects Josiah Jervis and 6'5" wing who can create off the dribble and who gives Michigan State another offensive catalyst. That said, Izzo lost a pair of double-figure scorers in Kohler and Cooper, who gave last season's team a brand of toughness this crew might not be able to match. But that's all we have for Michigan and Michigan State. We'll be back after the break to talk the NFL preseason with more Mitten Madness here on 95.3.
Did you know that driving under the influence of marijuana is illegal? Driving high will get you a DUI. And if you're wondering if law enforcement can tell you're driving high, well, everyone else can. Friends?
I can tell you drove high.
Parents?
I can tell when you drive high.
Relatives?
I can tell. You drove here high, didn't you?
So what makes you think law enforcement can't?
I can tell.
If you feel different, you drive different. Drive high, get a DUI. Paid for by NHTSA.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. My grandpa Lou is the reason why my dad and I started racing, and I'm really proud to follow in his tracks. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. I've learned a lot on this journey with my grandpa Lou, and the memories of my grandpa will always be with me. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Talking about Alzheimer's can be really tough, but if you notice something, have a conversation with your loved one. Encourage them to see a doctor or offer to go with them. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. The Alzheimer's Association provides care, support, and research to help you take control of the situation with your family and manage the disease together. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. Visit alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Welcome back into Mitten Madness here on 95.3 The Ticket. I'm your host, Da'Jzon Hughes. And, well, we didn't quite have time to get into this, so I wanted to touch on it quickly before we move on to the NFL preseason. Michigan had added a veteran guard to his 26-27 roster. Kenny Nolan, who played the past 4 seasons at Columbia, signed with Michigan, according to a report from On3 on Wednesday. The 6'2" Nolan appeared in 111 games with 57 starts and averaged a team-best 17.1 points and 3.7 assists per game last season. Michigan lost one rotation player from last season via transfer. L.J. Kaysen also lost starting guard Amari Barnett, who was out of eligibility. While still somewhat in flux, it appears players who spent the past 4 years in college will be allowed to play a 5th season in 26-27. We always will look for opportunities to improve where we can from a roster standpoint whenever that's an opportunity. If there's somebody that can add value, Michigan head coach Mike Boyden Jr. said Tuesday. Obviously, there's a more unique circumstance than we've ever been presented with before because of all of the court cases, but there's no doubt that we're certainly monitoring all these things. And if there's an opportunity to add somebody, we certainly will. Nolan shot 38% from three last season, which is his career average. He gives Michigan a reliable backup point guard behind Elliot Cadeau, or could play more off the ball. Michigan added an assistant from the Ivy League this offseason, Mike Martin, who would have seen Nolan up close multiple times. So that's a quick little addition to the roster as of now if things continue to pan out the way that they have been. We look at preseason week 1. The Steelers did more than take care of the Packers. They were able to beat them 28-9. The Packers led 3-0 after 1, and then they were down 7-6 at halftime, down 14-9 going into the fourth quarter, and then the Steelers put up 2 touchdowns to close things out. Bengals win a tough and tight game against the Lions. Lions were down 3-0 after 1, then down 10-6 at halftime. Then the Bengals once again pushed it up to 13-6 going into the fourth quarter. The Lions bounced back with 8 points in the fourth quarter to tighten things up. But then, once again, another field goal from the Bengals lifts them to victory 16-14. The Bears were able to top the Browns 34-10. Zero problems there for Chicago as they open up their preseason play. The Browns were up 3-0. After 1, then the game was tied at 10, and at halftime, the Bears exploded in the second half. They scored 14 in the third quarter and 10 in the fourth quarter. Deshaun Watson led the Browns on 2 of their scoring drives. Those are the only 2 scoring drives they saw. Tyler Badgett, 13 of 22, 169 yards and a TD in this game for the Bears. The Vikings, they come out victorious as well. 13-10 over the Giants, 3-0. After 1 in favor of the Vikings, then 10-3. Giants lead at halftime. Another 10 points come back for the Vikings in the third. Everyone held scoreless in the fourth as things end there. Murray debuts as Minnesota's starting QB, Kyler Murray that is, and dart throws for a TD as the Vikings beat the Giants 13-10. Jameis Winston also got some PT for the Giants, 8 of 9, 89 yards. So that's how things started in the preseason for those NFC North teams. They will get going again. The Packers played last night, 9 p.m. on NFL Network. They took on the Broncos, which, as you guys know, I record Friday, so I'm not able to know the outcome of that game just yet. It was at Empower Field at Mile High Stadium in Denver, Colorado. But coming up for the rest of the NFC North, later today, pretty much as soon as we are done talking, the Lions will take on the Commanders at Ford Field for the preseason, a noon kickoff as the Commanders are coming in 1-0. Obviously, the Lions are coming in 0-1, so that'll be a game for lots of people to keep their eyes on. Then getting started at 1 p.m. kickoff on ESPN Unlimited from U.S. Bank Stadium in Minneapolis, Minnesota. The Vikings are welcoming in the Baltimore Ravens, who are also 1-0 to start the NFL preseason. And lastly, the Bears, who are also 1-0, will welcome in the Bengals, who are 1-0. They will go on the road to play the Bengals at Paycor Stadium in Cincinnati, Ohio, 7 p.m. later today, seeing if the Bears will be able to continue their preseason winning ways. But honestly, it's interesting when we look at the rest of preseason week 1. The Colts and Patriots tied at 13 apiece. The Cardinals took down the Ravens 27-14 as Mendoza throws a TD pass in his preseason debut. Gardner Minshew got out there for Arizona, 14 of 16, 101 yards and 2 TDs, trying to win himself a spot. The Chargers dominate the Texans 27-7. D'Amico Ryans praises the rookie Marlon Klein after catch for Chargers in his NFL debut. He played just 11 snaps, but he definitely has some impressive plays. Trey Lance still trying to make his way in the NFL, 12 of 20, 164 yards and an interception in this game. The Titans beat the 49ers 19-13. Cam Ward struggles in the Titans preseason win over the 49ers. He had just 3 drives against San Francisco's backup defense, which could definitely poses some issues. The Bucks take down the Jets 24-16. Rookie Cade Klubnik leads 2 scoring drives against Geno Smith, is scratching the Jets 24-16 loss to the Bucks. Jalen Daniels also Jalen Daniels also got some PT, 10 of 15, 111 yards for the Buccaneers. Broncos take down the Falcons 27-7. Jarrett Stidham still getting good work, 9 of 15, 131 yards and 1 TD. The Commanders beat the Dolphins 20-7 as Dolphins Malik Willis has impressive start. Marcus Mariota injured as Commanders win 20-7. The Bills take down the Panthers as Josh Allen gets comfortable in the Bills' new stadium with TD pass and 29-14 preseason win over the Buffalo Bills. New head coach and a new stadium, but no problems at all in the domination. Obviously, we talked about the Bears and Vikings. The Rams over the Chiefs. First-round pick Ty Simpson throws 2 TD passes and rallies the Rams past the Chiefs 20-12 in his preseason debut. He went 21-25, 190 yards and 2 TDs for the game. So great play from him. The Jaguars over the Saints 24-20. Zach Wilson stands out for the Saints in their preseason loss to the Jaguars. He's saddled with the draft bust label as he's tried to savage his NFL career. He went 11-16, 145 yards and a TD. And then the Eagles ended up losing to the Ravens 24-7 as Jacoby Lane had a TD catch on promising night for the Ravens rookie receivers in the 24-7 win over the Eagles. Joe Fagnano had a pretty good game for the Ravens, 22-28, 224 yards and a TD. And lastly, closing out week 1, Cowboys and Seahawks, 17-7 in favor of the Cowboys as Brown stands out for the Cowboys with 2 TD catches in a 17-7 win over the Seahawks. That was rookie Camden Brown, including a diving one-handed snag for a TD. Joe Milton III, 12 of 15, 107 yards and a TD for Dallas. Looking into this week, some of the more notable matchups, Steelers-Jets, as Aaron Rodgers will go against the Jets in his final season. The Bills and Browns might be an interesting game to tune into. Falcons and Colts have some change going on with both of their programs, and that'll be an interesting game. Rams and Saints is always a fun matchup. Eagles-Patriots, Chiefs and Buccaneers, Seahawks-Titans as well. So tons of good NFL action going down this weekend with the preseason. The season, as far as regular season, is literally just around the corner. When I say just around the corner, like we are mere weeks away from week 1 and all of the possible happenings. So I'm going to need my Green Bay Packers to get it together. I don't care. If I'm being honest, the preseason means nothing to me. It shouldn't mean anything to a lot of you guys, but be more so cautious to look at how things are playing out and how things look rather than the wins and losses. But when we get back from the break, we'll be talking about our picks here on Mitten Madness on 95.3.
Did you know that driving under the influence of marijuana is illegal? Driving high will get you a DUI. And if you're wondering if law enforcement can tell you're driving high, well, everyone else can. Friends?
I can tell you drove high.
Parents?
I can tell when you drive high.
Relatives?
I can tell. You drove here high, didn't you?
So what makes you think law enforcement can't?
I can tell.
If you feel different, you drive different. Drive high, get a DUI. Paid for by NHTSA.
Welcome back to Mitten Madness here on 95.3 The Ticket. I'm your host, Da'Jzon Hughes, and it's time for my favorite part of the show, the picks. And yes, we encourage you to play along every single week using the chat feature in the 95.3 The Ticket app. All you have to do is listen for the games, matches, contests that we will have in our pick segment every single week. There's at least 6 every single week. I'm going to talk, do my research, deliberation, and tell you why I know so much about ball and why everything that coming out of my mouth is going to be correct and will lead to all of my picks being the right ones. And then, of course, I'll tell you my picks and what they are. And then you have the great opportunity to go out, do your own research, your own deliberation, and, of course, come up with why you believe all your picks are right. Write them down and then submit them into the 95.3 The Ticket app chat feature. and keep track yourself. We'll keep track here. And if you happen to know ball better than me, we'll have something special for you. My little reminder to you is that nobody has been able to be better than me at this picks game. Jacob, he tried his hand back when he was here 3 different times. He came out victorious in none of them. He got a tie one time, but the other 2 I came out on top. So do you have it in you to know more ball than me? The question is always out there. And once again, chat feature 95.3, the Ticket app. Submit those picks. Keep track, and we'll see if you can do better than I can. Last week was a big week. We decided to do 8 different picks last week, and I did fairly well. I would have liked to have done a little bit better than I ended up doing, but I'll take a 5-3 weekend out of an 8-pick slate every single time, bumping me up to 91, 73, and 1 on the season. Only a couple more weeks left in the season before football pops off, so I got to keep this strong momentum headed into the next season. We've got 6 more picks loaded up for this week, starting in the WNBA once again, with the Fever and the Liberty going down later today, 7 p.m. on Prime Video. The Indiana Fever coming in at 24-11, 11-7 on the year. The New York Liberty are 22-15, 12-5 at home, 42.2% for the Fever, 57.8% for the Liberty. Kelsey Mitchell, Aaliyah Boston, Caitlin Clark all appear to be healthy and ready for this game. Jonquel Jones is expected to be out with an ankle injury, but she may return. So we are up to see what will happen there. Satu Sabali is still out with a concussion injury, which will factor into how Pauline Astier, Brianna Stewart, and company will be able to compete with the Indiana Fever. This game will be at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. Liberty come in 3-2 in their last 5. They have wins over the Aces, Sparks, and Sun, but losses to the Fever and the Sky. The Fever come in 4-1 in their last 5. Wins over the Liberty, Wings, Dream, and Tempo, and then a loss to the Wings. Both these teams coming in on 1-game losing streaks, losing their most recent games. But with what I see, the possible injuries and how things have been playing out for the Fever recently, especially with Mitchell leading them into this game after putting up 37 points in their last game, I got to go with the team I believe to be on the stronger side. Give me the Indiana Fever to take down the New York Liberty and to continue progressing toward the top of the Eastern Conference while New York Liberty tries to cling on to their playoff spot. Moving on over to Sunday, 7 p.m., the Washington Mystics will take on the Portland Fire. Mystics are 21-14, 8-8 on the road. The Portland Fire are 15-20, 8-10 at home. 65% chance for the Mystics, 35% chance for Portland. Sonia Citron, Shakira Austin, Kiki Irafin, and company will take on Carla Leahy, Emily Engsler, and company with the Portland Fire. These teams have split 1-1 earlier this year. Mystics won 124-123 in quadruple overtime on June 28th. And then Portland dominated the Mystics on July 16th to 75-56. So this is for all the marbles as this game is going down at the Moda Center in Portland, Oregon. Portland 4-1 in their last 5. Wins over the Tempo, 2 over the Storm, and a win over the Mercury, while Minnesota was their one loss, 85-81. The Mystics coming in 3-2 in their last 5. 2 losses to the Aces back-to-back, 83-76 and 86-76. And then they have wins over the Mercury, Sparks, and Tempo. Both these teams coming in on 2-game winning streaks. But I do feel a little bit stronger about the Mystics than I do about Portland. Mystics are currently in the WNBA playoffs. They're 3rd in the Western Conference, while Portland is 5th and is trying to fight their way into a spot, but it's definitely an uphill battle. I have to, of course, go with the Mystics on this one. That moves us into our next game. The Valkyrie from Golden State will be taking on the Minnesota Lynx. 25-10, 10-5 on the road for the Valkyrie, while the Lynx are 30-7, 14-5 at home. This one will be on USA Network. 42.5% for the Valkyries, 57.5% for the Lynx. Olivia Miles is a game-time decision with an ankle injury coming into this game. Nafisa Collier is out with rest, but is expected to be back for this game that will be going down on Monday at 8 p.m. Target Center in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Minnesota leads the series 3-0, 87-84 on June 4th, 81-75 on June 19th, and 77-76 on August 19th. They're looking to go for the 4-game sweep. Golden State is in second place in the Western Conference. The Lynx are on a 5-game win streak, while Valkyries are coming in off of a loss most recently to the Lynx, but they're 4-1. They have 2 wins over the Wings, a win over the Sky and the Sparks as well. But I mean, like I mentioned last week, the Lynx are just in that mode where you can't really bet against them. They are playing at an unbelievable level, and nobody, I repeat, nobody has been able to step in front of them and stop them and slow them down. Olivia Miles playing at an unreal level. You still have Natasha Howard, Kayla McBride, and more on this team, where they have continued to dominate. So I'm going to take the Lynx to improve their winning streak to 6 and continue to create space between themselves and the Valkyries in not only the Western Conference standings, but the entire WNBA standings, as they are the number 1 overall seed. That takes us into our last WNBA game of the weekend. Portland Fire will be taking on the Dallas Wings. This game going down Tuesday on 8 p.m. It will be available on NBA TV and Fubo. 15-20, obviously 7-10. This will change for the Fire. I think the Dallas Wings have a game this weekend as well, as they're 21-16, 11-6. But a 16.7% chance for the Fire, an 83.3% chance for Dallas, as Paige Becker's Ozzie Fudd, who actually is done for the year, as she's going to get some knee surgery for some longing issues. Jessica Shepard and company will look to take on the Portland Fire. This game will be at the College Park Center in Arlington, Texas. The teams have split 1-1 so far this year. 84-83 in favor of the Fire on June 13th. 101-97. The Wings win on July 22nd. This one is the rubber match between the two, as Dallas is a few games above, 5 to be exact, ahead of Portland in the standings. Dallas coming in off a win over the Indiana Fever, 91-85. They also have a win over the Tempo, 94-88 in their last 5, but 3 losses to the Fever, Valkyrie, and Lynx in that time as well. Meanwhile, like I mentioned just a minute ago, Portland is technically kind of rolling right now, but their game earlier in the weekend against the Mystics could kind of put that out, all pun intended, and could be a reason why the Wings could win this game as well. Honestly, if I'm being honest, I was going with the Wings either way, even without Ozzie Fudd. I think that they have tons of talent there. I think it will be a little bit closer of a game than some people will believe, but I do have the Wings winning, especially because they're playing at home where they are more comfortable, and the Fire do tend to struggle when they're not playing at the Moda Center in Portland. So give me the Wings to win that game as well. Bumping us over onto the Diamond, the Tigers have a big series coming up early next week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday against the Tampa Bay Rays. Rays coming in 76-51, 33-28. Obviously, that's before this weekend. So the Tigers, who are 61-66, 32-31 at home, those records could change for both of those teams by the time this comes around. 48% and 52%. 48% for the Rays, 52% for the Tigers in game 1, as Drew Rasmussen will pitch against Kiter Montero. And then in game 2 of this series, you have Ian Seymour going against Jackson Jobe, where Tampa Bay Rays have a 52% chance, while the Tigers have a 48% chance. That's 6:40 on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, the 110 pitch, a 33.8% chance for the Rays, a 66.2% chance for the Tigers, as Freddie Peralta will take on Troy Melton. Currently, the Tigers own this series 3-0. They beat them 10-9 back on June 1st, 8-0 on June 2nd, and 7-2 on June 3rd. They're going to look to try and have some more success against them, as they are definitely coming in on a down week. So maybe they're able to turn around against the Rays. But me personally, I'm not feeling great about it. So I did go with the Rays to win this series. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, but that's for all of us to find out later, and for you to maybe pick against me and grab a win there while I pick up a loss. Heading into our last pick of the weekend, another baseball series, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 3-game series with a divisional foe of the Tigers in the AL Central. The Chicago White Sox will host the Texas Rangers. The White Sox are 66-61, 37-25 at home. The Rangers 63-65, 29-37 on the road. Obviously, these are subject to change. 38.1% chance for the Rangers, 61.9% chance for the White Sox in Game 1 as Kumar Rocker will go against undecided. The White Sox are the undecided party there. In Game 2 of this series, a 7:40 pitch on Tuesday, 43.9% chance for the Rangers, 56.1% chance for the White Sox as Jacob DeGrom will battle against Anthony Kay. And then in Game 3, 36.9% chance for the Rangers, 63.1% chance for the White Sox as Mackenzie Gore will battle against Sean Burke. The White Sox hold a 2-1 series lead, and I will favor them here as well. Give me the White Sox, which gives me the Fever, Mystics, Lynx, Wings, Rays, and White Sox. So hopefully that's how things pan out. Continue to get your Tigers coverage here on 95.3 The Ticket. And we look forward to talking to you about more happenings of the sports in the Mitten State with Mitten Madness next week on 95.3 The Ticket.
Join Da'Jzon Hughes every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. for Mitten Madness on 95.3 WBCK. Miss the show or want to run it back? Stream Mitten Madness on demand on the WBCK app. Sponsored by airwaycashforjunkcars.com.